I was a high-level juvenile delinquent.
Those times were pretty rough, but we struggled together.
It was just me and my mother. Biological father wasn't around. Childhood was tough.
Shaquille made a deal with Phil. He said, if you want my mother, you got to take me.
I want to go in and dominate and take over. I think I will be able to.
Oh, what a dunk!
He changed the fucking equipment. Backboards were getting broken.
He brought the whole goal down!
Couldn't nobody do nothing with Shaq. It won't even close.
I had to tell you, you made us all proud.
In March 1972, Joe, Tony, and his girlfriend, Lucille O'Neal, were preparing for the arrival of their son.
We all lived in one house. We had uncles, we had aunts from the first floor up to the third floor.
On March 6th, Tony and Lucille O'Neal had a son. On that day, a legend was born.
Thank you for the blessing, God. Thank you for the blessing, because that's what it really is.
Joe Tony had basketball talent. He was an all-state guard in his prime, but he also had a crippling drug addiction. When Shaq was just an infant, Tony was arrested for drug possession and forging checks. Before O'Neal could even walk, his father was completely out of the picture. Lucille, just 17 years old, now had the task of raising a future Hall of Famer by herself.
17, you absolutely do not know what you're doing. So you do the best you can with what you have to work with.
With tough times now looking even tougher for Lucille, baby Shaq was all that mattered. Even as an infant, though, O'Neal was far from the usual. Lucille's mother, Shaq's grandmother, said she knew Shaq was meant for big things in life.
She said, it's something special about that one. And I really didn't know what she meant then because, I'm just a young mother trying to, make sure that he's taken care of.
Harrison treated Shaq as his own son, and Phillips's military background meant that he instilled discipline and respect into a young and sometimes unruly Shaquille.
Growing up in a military household, you have to be big on respect.
Some people may have felt Shaq needed to meet his real father, but in Shaq's eyes, he already had. Phil was only stepfather to those on the outside looking in. The term stepfather itself wasn't appropriate. Phil Harrison had become Shaq's dad.
He's father. He's the guy who made me who I am. I'm in a big old house because of that man. I'm still relevant 5 years after playing because of that man. I'm responsible because of that man. So I thought it would be disrespectful to meet another man, especially then.
O'Neal heaps praise and love onto Phil Harrison today, not simply because the man worked hard to provide for his family and become the loving father that Shaq so desperately needed, but also because Shaq's father is directly responsible for O'Neal's journey to the NBA. At the time, the future Big Daddy Diesel was getting in trouble at school, drifting down a dangerous path, but one game with his father changed everything, altering the course of basketball history forever.
He gets some Knick tickets. Not good tickets, we're up top. Dr. J goes baseline, throws it down, crowd goes crazy. I said, okay, this is what I want to do. I'm a changed man. From that day on, no more juvenile delinquent, tried better in school, stayed out of trouble.
With Shaq's incredible size taken into account, you might think that basketball was always in the cards. Even with the gifts Diesel was born with, it took years of training and hard work to turn himself into the player that we know and love. By the time O'Neal was 16, he was standing at an awe-inspiring 6 feet 10 inches. Unsurprisingly, high school ball saw Shaq dominate just as he would eventually do in the big league of basketball. Shaq led Robert G. Cole High School to an unbelievable record of 68 wins and a single loss. He broke individual records too and earned himself comparisons to arguably the greatest big man to ever play the game, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
No matter who the opponent is, just go out and kill him. If he's small, short, big, fat, tall, just go out and kill him.
Who taught you that?
My father.
College ball was more the same for Diesel. O'Neal played for LSU, and the quickest way to sum up his impact as a player is to say that today, there's a bronze statue of Shaquille O'Neal outside the LSU practice facility. In 1992, the Orlando Magic selected O'Neal with a first pick. Shaq wasted no time in proving that selection correct, as he won the NBA's Player of the Week in his first week in the league. Shaq made the All-Star team as a rookie, becoming the first player since Jordan to do so. A Rookie of the Year award was no surprise. Shaq was a mix of athleticism and power that simply had no equal in the NBA. The crazy thing is, he was just getting started. For Shaq's second season in the NBA, he was joined by Penny Hardaway, a lightning-quick, sharpshooting guard who had earned comparisons to the one and only Magic Johnson. Shaq and Penny looked to be an unstoppable team, and they almost were. In season number 3 for O'Neal, the big man led the NBA in scoring. He then led his Orlando Magic all the way to the NBA Finals. Once there, though, they faced a most formidable foe in the form of the defending NBA champs, the Houston Rockets, led by all-time great Hakeem Olajuwon. The Magic were no match, and the following year they ran into Jordan's Bulls in the playoffs. Shaq as an NBA champ on the Magic never worked out, but it did lead to the formation of perhaps the greatest 1-2 punch in NBA history, Shaq and Kobe.
In 02, you were not f***ing with Shaq, bro. They changed how you had to construct your roster. You had to have 2 or 3 bigs just for fucking fouls. He has been the most dominant player in the history of the game of basketball, period.
In 2000, Shaq led the league in scoring and won the MVP award, cementing him as the man in the NBA.
You've had a dominating MVP season.
He did this on the way to winning 3 straight NBA championships with Kobe Bryant as a superstar sidekick. Shaq won Finals MVP every year in that three-peat. For a time, there was no player on the Magic, not even a combination of players that could stop Shaq Diesel.
Shaq was damn near unstoppable.
After making another Finals appearance, but coming up short against the Detroit Pistons, Shaq took his talents to South Beach. Once there and partnered up with D. Wade, O'Neal won his 4th ring. He was the MDE, the most dominant ever. Shaq's prime was out of this world, a player that struck fear into every NBA team.
Nah, it wasn't no guard him, man. Like Father Time guarded Shaq.
When Shaq left the game, he did so as one of the best to ever do it. Some would even argue that he's the greatest big man in NBA history. If Shaq's childhood had turned out differently, though, there's a very real possibility that O'Neal would never have chosen the sport of basketball. It's all thanks to his father. Back in 1994, Shaq released his second rap album, Shaq Fu: A Return. The first single allowed the NBA big man the opportunity to tell the story of his past in a way that only Shaquille O'Neal could.
Biological father left me in the cold, been a few months old. I thought a child was greater than gold, but I guess not.
The song, Biological Didn't Bother, was dedicated to Shaq's stepfather, Philip Harrison. It made for a heartfelt dedication and showed fans a side of Shaq they weren't used to seeing. It's something that now holds even more weight, as after Phillips passed away, Shaquille O'Neal decided to confront his past.
So my mother calls me, says you need to meet your biological. I'm like, well, I'm good. 47, I got 6 kids, Mom. It's all good.
Shaq had to deal with the pain of being abandoned by his father at an early age, and then, after enduring the pain that came with the death of the man he came to know as his father, Shaq put years of resentment behind him and agreed to meet his biological dad.
Crazy thing is, in Newark, New Jersey, there's this restaurant that I always go to, a soul food restaurant. And there was a guy in there, a chef. He always used to look at me and just start crying. He was my father's best friend.
Shaq's biological father, Joe Tony, lived above the soul food restaurant. The Lakers legend visited, and after almost 5 days, he met his dad. They sat together and shared a conversation.
It ain't about what happened, because I've learned you can't judge a man. I don't judge. You know, he had some problems when he was young. I don't judge him. I don't fault him. You know, my thing now is just that as long as we're both here, we just get to know each other.
Today, O'Neal is a legend of the game, one who shares a relationship with his biological father despite everything that happened 5 decades ago. For O'Neal, though, this is a relationship that'll never replace the one he had with Philip Harrison. 2018 would serve up a nice reminder of Shaq's relationship with his father in the form of a young player named Shaquille Harrison. While no relation to Phil or Shaq, this guard possessed a name with a remarkable connection to the pair.
Yes. You know what's crazy about that? That's what my name was supposed to be.
Holy cow, it was!
Yeah, it was supposed to be that. But my dad, he said, you know what? I like Shaquille O'Neal because you're going to be a famous basketball player one day and this sounds better. He said that to me. My father said that to me.
The name Shaquille Harrison is largely a forgotten one in the modern basketball landscape. But it was almost the name of Big Daddy Diesel, a player who overcame tremendous odds to become a larger-than-life superstar in basketball and beyond. There may be players that show glimpses of Shaq's game, but there's only one Shaquille O'Neal. Which Shaq career highlight is your all-time favorite? Let us know your pick in the comments below. And don't forget to hit that notification bell, like, and subscribe.